Taylor Sheridan, he called me back in 22, I believe. I don't even know what year it is right now.
Lainey Wilson made her acting debut in the season 5 premiere of Yellowstone as Abby, and everyone's been wondering if she'll make a comeback in the second half of the final season.
Are you coming back next season?
Well, you know what I've realized? I've realized that the movie business is just as crazy, if not crazier, than the music business.
The country music sensation has made some waves recently with her statements about a potential return. But what you might not know is that she's been a part of the show since a lot earlier than season 5. In fact, she first showed up in season 2, although not in the way you might expect.
Yellowstone has connected a lot of dots for me, and with Smell Like Smoke being in the show, you know, it's one of those songs that we wrote specifically for the show.
Basically, Laney contributed a few songs for the show's country music-inspired soundtrack, and she's helped craft the show's distinct musical identity ever since. She finally graced our screens with her presence as soon as the final season began, and her relationship with one of John Dutton's most dedicated ranch hands had everyone swooning. But in case you need to refresh your memory, we should probably talk about who Abby is exactly. The writers did a great job of crafting a character that would play to Laney's strengths.
He said, you know, I've got this idea and I want to create a character specifically for you.
Just like the actress that brings her to life on screen, Abby's a musician with the voice of an angel. Unlike Laney, however, she's not exactly a national celebrity or anything like that. Rather, she just moves from town to town and plays a few shows that help her get by. The role helped Laney bring her unique charisma to the table both in terms of acting and musicianship.
Everything that Taylor Sheridan does is unique and special.
Whenever you saw her get on stage, you knew you were in for a treat for the ears. And that's one of the reasons why I want to see her again.
But go by a musician named Abby on the show, and I knew it was a really big opportunity for me to share my music with the world.
Of course, the main reason doesn't have anything to do with her singing, but with the love story that started building between her and Ryan. I'd say that their romantic entanglement was one of the highlights of the season, so I have to wonder if we'll see more of that in part 2. Ryan's not exactly a central character, but he's one of my personal favorites among the Yellowstone ranch hands. Giving him a love interest was a great way to level up his character with the show heading towards its end, and Ian Bohen had some great chemistry with Lainey Wilson that had me rooting for them to stay together forever.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about love. They talk about, like, fighting for what you want.
From the moment I saw her eyeing Ryan during John Dutton's inauguration party, I knew that we were in for a great storyline. The smile they shared during that scene hinted at something deeper. And the way she brushed off Beth's kind of inappropriate remarks about her outfit showed that she wasn't just a throwaway character either. She had personality and wasn't afraid to show it. Ryan's a classic cowboy after all, with a gruff demeanor masking a sweeter side that he hardly shows to anyone, so he needed a spitfire like Abby to bring that out of him. I initially wondered if we get to see more of their undeniable chemistry, but we got to see Abby's relationship with Ryan fleshed out as she appeared in 3 more episodes that season. Most of it happened off screen, but they'd clearly formed a connection by the 3rd episode. I mean, she called Ryan her cowboy as if they were already dating, but there was a lot that threatened to get in their way. For starters, Abby was apparently not into cowboys. Honestly, I get where she's coming from, because her justification for why she steers clear of ranch hands makes a lot of sense. She basically doesn't like how obsessed they can get with their lifestyle. All their time is spent doing cowboy things, and that doesn't really leave a lot of room for romance, does it? Or, in other words, they might be up for a tumble in the sack, but you really can't expect a cowboy to settle down. That's just how Abby thinks of them, so it was up to Ryan to prove her wrong. Look, she's obviously the kind of gal that knows what she wants and isn't afraid to demand it. And that's exactly what got me so interested in her budding romance with the ranch hand. Unfortunately, Abby's suspicions kind of came true in the end. Ryan had to head down to Texas with Rip after a plague threatened to wipe out the entire herd, and you can probably guess how Abby took that. Yep, she got real mad that her new flame was leaving, and in her defense, Ryan made things even worse by waiting until the last minute to tell her. If only he'd been upfront about his year away from the ranch, they might have ended things on a warmer note. As it currently stands, their final interaction was about as tense as it could have gotten, and their entire future was up in the air. To be fair, Beth had mixed feelings about Rip heading out. She forced him to take her along because she couldn't imagine spending a whole year apart, And this is a girl that couldn't understand Abby's reluctance to get with a cowboy. In other words, Beth loved the idea of a dedicated cowboy as her man, and even she couldn't just let Rip ride off into the sunset without her.
When I think about the female characters in the show, you think about Beth. She is a tough cookie.
Now that the final batch of 6 episodes have been confirmed, no thanks to a certain lead star that nearly ruined it for everyone,
There's like a little commotion between Taylor Sheridan and Kevin Costner. Is Kevin coming back?
Well, fingers crossed. Like I tell you, like I truly, when I tell you, I do not know what's happening.
the only question that remained was whether or not Laney would be returning.
I learned that I really just love being creative, and so I can definitely see myself doing a little more acting.
Abby and Ryan's romance could have ended with a fight, but I have some good news. Laney has officially confirmed that she's appearing in a few more Yellowstone episodes, so it seems like we'll finally get to see where Abby and Ryan ended up. Now, as much as I'd like them to have their happily ever after, there are quite a few obstacles in their way. Probably the biggest one of all is Abby's anger towards Ryan for leaving her in the lurch. Now, I'm not saying her feelings aren't justified, but what are the chances that they might reconcile? Considering how long it's been since Season 5 Part 1 came out, Taylor Sheridan might start the final 6 episodes with a time jump. That would skip over their year-long separation and let us get straight to the good stuff. Another major issue is Abby's lifestyle. I get the feeling that she doesn't stick around in one place for very long. So even if Ryan comes back to Yellowstone, Abby might not be around to welcome him. Now, I'm pretty sure that her storyline will be closely linked to Ryan's, since the relationship was one of the main driving forces of her character arc. I'm guessing that they'll take their sweet time finding each other, but if and when that happens, they're going to have to come to terms with their differences. Both Abby and Ryan refuse to compromise on what they want, and that's something that can cause a bit of friction between the lovers. Abby was infuriated by Ryan leaving because her worst fears came true. The cowboy she was falling in love with chose his job over her, but what she doesn't understand is that Ryan's job means everything to him. It's not just a way to pay the bills. He's not an accountant, for crying out loud. He's a cowboy. And his entire identity comes from the herd and the ranch he helps to take care of. What she needs to do is to realize that being a cowboy is for Ryan what being a musician is for her. It's his passion, his dream, and recognizing that would help patch things up a lot faster. Then again, Ryan deserves at least some of the blame too. He didn't just leave for work. He made Abby feel like work mattered more to him than she did. There's nothing wrong with that, but if he wants her back, he needs to show it. Whatever happens in the end, I'm personally super stoked to see how things play out. I'm also hoping for a few more musical numbers from Laney, because boy, that woman can sing. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next one.